Good morning, Commerce Secretary.
Good morning, Chairperson.
I'm not sure who's that's your Chris.
It's me today, Chair.
Okay. Maybe let's check if we are able to start.
Yes, Chair. We have sufficient members to start, Chair, and the Deputy Minister is also just logged on.
Oh, okay. All right. Thank you so much. Lockdown, locked in. Thank you so much. Good morning, honorable members. Good morning to the Deputy Minister.
Recording in progress.
Staff of the committee, and also staff of Parliament, the management of the Department of Tourism. Good morning. Today we are getting briefing from the Department of Tourism on the 2023 2022-23 annual report, as well as the first and second quarters of 2023-2024 annual performance plans. Without wasting any time, I will hand over to Ms. Mardia Solomon to indicate the members that are present, and as well as the apologies. And then after, I'll hand over to the Deputy Minister, who will also indicate the delegation from the Department of Tourism. Over to you, Ms. Solomon.
Thank you, Chairperson. Chair, in attendance today, we have yourself, Honorable Dango, Honorable Moimang, Honorable Mashodi, Honorable Lunt, Honorable Boshoff, Honorable Bratusef. We have one apology from Honorable Mamrahani, and as well as an apology from the Minister. In terms of staff in attendance, I've got my co-committee secretary, Ms. Dinizulu, the NCOP procedural officer, Ms. Advocate Ali, and our committee assistant, Mr. Bazir. The rest of the colleagues will be logging on shortly. Yes, Chair, that's it from my side.
Thank you very much, Ms. Solomon. At this stage, then, let me indicate that Honorable Mamrahani is attending the Finance Committee this morning. So that's why she's not part of us. Thank you. Welcome, Honorable Deputy Minister, and I will hand over to you for the opening remarks and the introduction of the delegation and the presentation of the reports. Over to you, Honorable Deputy Minister.
No, thank you very much, Chair. Good morning to your good self, Chair.
Morning.
And let me also extend the greetings to all the members of the Portfolio Committee. Extend the greetings in the
Select Committee. Select Committee.
Select Committee, yes. The Select Committee members. And also extend my greetings to the DG and the DDGs and the whole team of the department that is with us here. We are with the team is led by the DG, with the various DDGs, but not all of them, because there's also a Portfolio Committee meeting that is sitting. So the one DDG is in the Portfolio Committee, the SAT matter that is taking place today, 10. I will, without waste of time, is just to indicate that we are here to present the annual report, Chair. And then the annual report will indicate the performance, what have we done for the last financial year in terms of the annual report, the work that has been done by the department. I must say that we've done better this year in the context of performance. We're able to achieve a general performance at 80%, but what the AG regard as the key service deliverables, we've achieved 96% in that regard. And therefore, it is a very, very high improvement compared to where we were last year. There are some programs that have not done well, like your corporate services and administration. But we'll be able to explain what was the reason behind it, and how we're mitigating the situation going forward, so that we're able to deal with it. We've received unqualified audit with only one matter. So a matter that was not even created by us, it was created by the agent, that is the DBSA, who is our implementing agent. We've tried to make sure, because we're presenting to the NCOP, your more interest is to check whatsoever that we've done for the year, how has it impacted on provinces? So we'll be able to reflect on that, especially on projects that have been carried in various provinces at various stages of the branches. The work that is done in those provinces and the impact it has had in the project, and also in the training and capacity building program that we're doing, and all other activities. We'll be able, therefore, to share the distributing of those work throughout the 9 provinces. Without waste of time, Chair, ask the DG to come in and take us through. He will maybe delegate some of the responsibility to the DGs. Thanks.
Thanks so much, Honorable Deputy Minister. Over to you, DG. I will request DG, if you can open your. Didn't want to help the DM, because I wanted to request him to open the video. So I'll request that all the presenters please open.
I wanted to see me, Chair. Yeah.
These meetings are live on the 4.8 and the social media. So the public must be able to see us. Thanks so much.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Honorable Chairperson, and greetings to yourself, to the DM, and to the honorable members, and to the colleagues, both from the department side as well as colleagues from the side of the House, the Parliament, from Parliament. We will take us to slide number 5, please. Thank you. Honorable Chairperson, the year before this one, which was 21-22, our performance was around 83%. And what the Deputy Minister did refer to as the service delivery type targets that are focusing on services to the people. The achievement in that category was also only 80%. This was 21-22. 22-23, overall performance of the organization is 88.37%. That is, we got 38 of the 43 targets that we had planned. And a significant amount of work was actually done, where sometimes we just had 1 or even less than 1% to achieve the target. And this is the category where we have color-coded it in yellow, which is about 11.63%. And we did not necessarily have an area where it was just non-achievement completely. And we also were able to provide all the necessary information in terms of the claims that we're making about the performance. What is also clear there is that programs that are service delivery orientated, which will be Program 2, Program 3, and Program 4, all of them are above 90%, with Program 3 actually getting 100% of its targets. And we will give some explanation as to what happened with Program 1 and what are some of the things that we'll have to do going forward, even though the current environment does have a slight bit of impact in terms of those specific ones as well. Let's move on to slide 8. Beyond that, it will be slide 9. Thank you. The Minister has already alluded to the outcomes of the audit. We just, Honorable Chairperson, missed the clean audit category. We do have a clean audit when it comes to audit of performance information. But unfortunately, due to this compliance issue that the DM raised, so the current guideline is such that if one of our agents that happens to be a government entity incurs an irregularity, they must then carry the irregularity because they are using the same rules as us, but we are then deemed not to have done sufficient oversight on them in terms of making sure that they comply. In the previous financial year, Honorable Chairperson, Honorable Members would recall that we did have problems of financial misstatements and so on, and we had to correct the books and all those kinds of things. I'm happy to report that that is a thing of the past. In the previous financial year, the financial statements that we submitted are the financial statements that have actually been published, which is very, very good progress on our side. And I also want to indicate that that was done by internal people. This is our own internal capacity that is actually putting these statements together to make sure that we are able to get the necessary value. But in the end, we do test it outside to just make sure that in case we ourselves in our processes of making sure that we have gone through them thoroughly, we might have missed this or that. But even what we got back from the people that we asked to look at them, they were saying everything is the way it's supposed to be. So that's a significant improvement on our part, and I think it's going to assist us going forward in terms of making sure that we improve on the audit outcome. Let's move to slide 10. This we have explained, which is the issue that led to what is deemed to be non-compliance, which was an irregularity on the side of the agency. And the essence of it is that they appointed a company that had not provided their tax clearance certificate at the time of submitting their responding to the request for quotations, and could only validate that it does exist at the time of appointment. So that we have now written back to them and indicated that what we would want is that they must ensure that at a point of entry, they are checking it. At a point of concluding the actual procurement, they have got all the necessary documents in place, and then making sure that those records are kept properly. And in all instances, when they come to us to give us reports, they report to us on a regular basis. They must also give us a statement of assurance that indeed this matter, these kinds of things have actually been looked into. There is nothing that they believe would actually come back to bite the department. Let's move on to slide 12. Honorable Chairperson, I will also present Program 1 because DD Jingwenya is actually on the other side with South African tourism. We were supposed to procure the goods and services, 30% of which was meant to come from SMMEs. In that regard, we were able to procure 54.76% of our goods and services from SMMEs. The payment of invoices within 30 days, our target is 100%. We had some challenges in this regard. It's an area that I've seen significant improvement in the current year, but in that year it was 93.37%. The bulk of these ones that were paid after the 30 days were in the area of travel. And in part, what we had done was we were experiencing very high volume of unplanned travel, let me put it like that. That would be if there's a request that comes from a higher office to say, tomorrow there will be this and that, and it comes in the evening and so on. So we allowed the system to be able to have preliminary approvals, and then we will then get the paperwork upon return. We had many instances of people that would come back and continue with the business as if they do not owe the CFO's office the reconciliation work and so on, to make sure that everything is in order. What we have done with that is to make sure that there were consequence management applied on those people that have actually been found wanting in this regard. So each incident was actually looked at individually, investigated, and then the consequences in that regard would then follow up. We issued lots of letters to people that were found wanting in this particular regard. We are seeing very, very good improvement, as you would see when we present the quarterly reports. I think in this previous quarter, we are now at something like 99.7% or so. So there has been significant improvement in that regard. The procurement of goods and services from women, and this is part of the commitment that has been done, which gets monitored also. It is part of the strategy, the GBV strategy targets and so on. And part of what we have done was we did not isolate. Let me put it this way, Honorable Chairperson. We counted the contracts we are awarding, as well as the contracts we participate in, and the contracts that we awarded before. The contracts we awarded before were not necessarily the biggest of the challenge, but the contracts that we participate in when it comes to transversal contracts, the content of women composition of those particular companies is something that we've got no control over. But because we're spending the money during that particular financial year, we had to take into account that in truth, the money is actually going to that company, and that company is actually not necessarily owned by women. But we don't necessarily have control over those types of contracts, whether they are ICT contracts that are coming from the transversals and so on. And also, when we do business with other organs of state, we are at the mercy of that organ of state in terms of whether it is actually in a position where we can be able to say it meets the 40% requirement and so on. So those two categories, what we've then decided to do going forward is to say we are no longer going to go that route of just taking the transversals as they are and so on. We are going to measure ourselves against contracts that we were responsible for appointing and intentionally making sure that women-owned businesses are actually getting business. So that's going to be the approach as we go forward. It's still work in progress because there's still a number of contracts that we have got to conclude, which will then be able to provide that sort of insight. Let's move to 15. Thank you. This is where I was saying, Honorable Chairperson, in some cases we missed the target by less than a percentage point. Case in point was the women representation at senior management service level, and we were at 49.2%. So we just missed it, and by and large is because we had 2 women that actually left the department right towards the end, and unfortunately also this will also manifest in the when I go to the representation in terms of breakdown of the demographics, because those were 2 women in the white community. One of them retired. The second one took a job somewhere in the coast. I think it was in Georgia or somewhere there, which was a promotion. So those were some of the dynamics around those kinds of things. We are still doing well with regards to employment of people with disability. Against a stretch target of the department is 3%. The employment equity target and government's own target is 2%. And our performance is 4.5%, which was about 21 people or so that have declared their status of persons living, of persons with disability. And in terms of empowering the workforce, we have continued to implement successfully the work-based skills plan, and we have also really done. We focus on this issue of the implementation of the internal audit plan, but also supplementary instruments to that. What got us this new improvement in terms of the audit outcome, but also in terms of the results, were 2 things. One, we introduced a combined assurance model that enabled us to be able to really ensure that everyone is doing their assurance, from administration to from officials to accounting officer and to the political principals, to make sure that all these things are actually looked into. Then the second one, and also the oversight bodies in terms of yourselves. And then the second thing that we did was to ensure that every single thing, it doesn't matter how small it might be, if it was flagged by the AG, even those things that they may have identified but are not necessarily findings per se, we take those things, we put them into the risk management plans and so on, but we also have an audit action plan, which we then sit on a regular basis. For that year, because of the number of things that we were dealing with, we were convening those meetings on a weekly basis. If we were unable to do weekly, then it would be fortnightly. But it was very, very, very consistent. I chaired that meeting. All the DDGs had to be in that meeting. All the senior managers that are directly affected by one finding or another had to be at that particular meeting. And we would then take each other into account to say, where are we with this? Can we finalize it next week? And the audit team will then follow up on all the claims that are being made that this is done, this is not done, this is done, this is not, to make sure that that which is alleged to have been done, we actually have evidence for it. And we also implemented our communication strategy fully. And I will then request at this point, okay, I still have to deal with this, let's move on. In terms of our demographic representation, we have 2 areas where I think the Africans, Black Africans, we have met the target, but we're slightly over that target. The colors, we have not met the targets if one looks at the employment equity, the commission's reports, but also look at the census data. And then Asians, we have met and exceeded the target. So we are above the if you look at the actual demographics, and as well as you look at the employment equity composition. And then whites, this is where I was saying we got affected by those departures. In the year, we had 3 departures of white people. All of them, well, one was a retirement, but 2 were promotions. And even the year before that, we had lost one who was the CFO as well to retirement. So we would like to actually see that proper representation overall. But this is where we were at. Let's move to the next one. Move to the finances, as I've just dealt with this. All right. Overall, Honorable Chairperson, we spent 98.9% of the budget. There was a variance of 1.1%. The comfort that we do have with this level of expenditure, Honorable Chairperson, is that we've got 98.9% expenditure, 96% achievement of service delivery targets. That gives us comfort that the money was actually going into service delivery. Slide 22. The variances, just to explain them, broadly across the board, it was largely due to delays in the filling of positions. This is still going to manifest in the current year, in that the processes that we were undertaking with regards to filling of positions have now had to be put on hold, because we now need to make sure that we receive the go-ahead from in terms of the positions that we've prioritized. We receive a go-ahead from the DPSA, and once we have got the DPSA's go-ahead, that's when we'll then be able to actually fill those positions, which will still include making sure that they're advertised and all the other processes that must ensue right until the appointments. And sometimes those things may take a little bit of time, because when you don't have people inside, the same people are supposed to be doing some work which is more urgent now, but at the same time, these are the same people that must sit in the panels to recruit others to come and assist them in doing that work. So those are some of the things some of the challenges that we will experience as we also go forward. But in the program 2, there were also other factors, but these factors, in my view, I don't consider them under expenditure. They are more of savings. One is that a number of meetings that are international were not necessarily done physically, they were done virtually. So there was a saving that came out of that. The second one was that in the payments of the international bodies, in particular the UN body responsible for tourism, the UNWTO, the exchange rate at the time of payment was favorable towards us. So there was a saving that was realized within that. And that's why I'm saying those two categories, we see those more as savings as opposed to an actual under expenditure. At this point, I am then going to, perhaps just for the record, to state that of the 2,502,357,000, we were able to spend 2,473,720,000. That is what then comprised that 98.9% expenditure, with a variance of 1.1%, which is 28,637,000. Honorable Chairperson, I will now hand over to Program 2, DDG Malan. Thank you.
Thank you very much, DG. Good morning, Honorable Chair, Honorable members, DG colleagues and Deputy Minister. As DG indicated, I am taking the committee through the achievements or the report for Program 2. In the summary slide, DG highlighted that the branch or Program 2 achieved 11 out of 12 targets, with one target not fully achieved, but significant work being done. I will take the committee through the details, and I will then explain the one that we didn't fully achieve. On slide 25, it speaks to our output indicator that relates to our M&E reports, our monitoring and evaluation reports. We targeted 5 reports for the year that I'm presenting on, and we managed to deliver all 5 of these reports. It related to the evaluation of the resource efficiency project that is being rolled out by the department. The second report looked at the monitoring of our capacity building programs, and it was specifically focused on the Hospitality Youth Program, the National Youth Chefs Training Program, the Tourism Monitors Program, and the Food Safety Quality Assurance Program. The third report that we produced is our annual State of Tourism report, and that report for the years 2020 and 2021 was finalized and published. We also developed 4 tourism sector recovery plan implementation reports to monitor the implementation of the recovery plan. And lastly, we developed a report on the state and availability of key tourism statistics and resources at a provincial level. And that was specifically to look at the capacity at a provincial level in the development of statistics, noting the concurrent nature of tourism. Next slide, please. Our second output indicator relates to the development of our knowledge systems. And for that annual year or financial year, we targeted 2 reports or 2 systems. The one relates to our tourism skills and employment portal. And the second one relates to the data analytics system that we implemented. Our third indicator relates to our initiatives to implement and to create an enabling policy environment for tourism growth and development. And what we targeted there was the white paper, the review of the white paper on the development and the promotion of tourism in South Africa. And we targeted, our target was to submit it to Cabinet for approval. We did develop the green paper it was ready and available. We also commenced with the socio-economic impact assessment through presidency. But what we did not finalize was the commencement of the cabinet cluster process, and therefore we didn't achieve the target. The policy was reviewed, finalized, but we didn't commence with the cabinet cluster process during the period under review. We then, as a corrective measure, indicated that we will submit the green paper into the cabinet cluster process as soon as we received SIA's approval. And Honorable Chair and Honorable Members, just to indicate that subsequently, but out of the period under review, we did submit to Cabinet, and Cabinet did approve the green paper for gazetting for public comments. The fourth output indicator refers to the number of public entity oversight reports. We targeted to develop 4 reports, and those reports were developed for the year under review. Next slide, please. In terms of our international relations, especially when it comes to regional, continental, and global multilateral groupings, we targeted 6 organizations or multilateral fora: the World Tourism Organization, the G20, BRICS, SADC, EORA, and the African Union. And we achieved all the targets on that indicator. Our 6th indicator speaks to our annual outreach program to diplomatic communities, and we targeted 2 outreach programs for the financial year, and those 2 were done successfully. And lastly, our last output indicator speaks to our sharing of best practices workshop, which is one of our vehicles in implementing our signed MOUs with countries in Africa, but also around the world. And our sharing of best practices workshop for 2023 was successfully hosted in March this year, but during the period under review. Thank you very much, Honorable Chair and Honorable Members. I am handing over to Dr. Chettiar for Program 3.
Thank you very much. Good morning, Honorable Chair and Honorable Members, Honorable DM, DG, and colleagues. I will take you through the Destination Development Branch, and in the year under review, we achieved 100% of our target. The work opportunities target was exceeded, but I'll speak to that when we get to that specific slide. The first slide then has 5 targets, all of them in destination planning and investment promotion. The first one relates to the work that we've been doing in terms of finalizing specific concepts from our master plan documents and making sure that those are incorporated into the CDM1 plans for OR Tambo, eThekwini, Pixley Kaseme, and Namakwa. And all of that work was achieved as we set out to do that. The piloting of the budget resort network and brand concept was reviewed in this period. And we also completed work on precinct methodology for township tourism precincts at Kaleshiwe and Vilakazi Street. In terms of our work on investment promotion, we continue to work on our pipeline of nationally prioritized projects. And this is both new and existing projects. And we also facilitated 2 investment promotion platforms. Next slide, please. Our work then in our national parks actually continued. It's a maintenance work in our 19 national parks. Just a quick breakdown in terms of provinces. 4 of our national parks are in the Eastern Cape, 6 of them are in the Western Cape, 5 are in the Northern Cape, and there is 1 each in the Free State, Northwest, Limpopo, and in Mpumalanga. This program was successfully concluded in the last financial year, and it created just under 1,000 jobs in these various areas. Next slide, please. Our work in the provincial state-owned assets actually commenced in the financial year, and in the financial year under review, we did a lot of the condition assessments with a few of these projects going into construction. And Honourable Chair and Honourable Members, when I present our Q2 performance, I'll present a little bit more detail around which provinces and which projects actually we were working on. We've actually worked across all 9 provinces, but in the year under review, we had started with a few in order to manage the work and also our budgets. Next slide, please. The next slide speaks to the work that we're doing in 30 community-based tourism projects. And the breakdown of these are that there are 11 in Mpumalanga, 3 each in the Free State, KZN, and the Northern Cape, 4 in the Northwest, 5 in the Eastern Cape, 1 in Mpumalanga, as it's listed here, Numbi Gate. But in fact, there are 2 separate projects, as you will see from our presentation for Q2. And all of the work on these projects, the detailed planning proceeded, with most of these projects now in construction, and some of them, in fact, reaching completion. When I present Q2, I'll also present more detail on these specific projects. The last slide then, if we could go to that one, speaks to the work opportunity slide. Next slide, please. In the year under review, our target was 4,104 work opportunities. At the end of the financial year, 5,315 were achieved. That is a total of 1,211 additional work opportunities that were created. And the reason for that variance was that many of our projects moved into implementation in the Q4. That was both our infrastructure projects as well as the maintenance projects and the skills programs. So that's what contributed to our additional work opportunities in the last financial year. I will then hand over to DDG Sitwaba.
Thank you very much, the DDG. Good morning, Honourable Chair and Honourable Members. Good morning, Honourable Deputy Minister, the DG, and all colleagues in the meeting. The program 4 for the performance, the annual performance, we achieved 11 of our 12 targets, with the 1 outstanding targets recording an achievement, but significant work still being done, that is in the area of the tourism monitors, and I will speak to it when we get to it. Our first indicator, which is the number of incentive programs implemented, we had implemented the Green Tourism Incentive program, and we achieved the annual target. In terms of the domestic tourism awareness programs, we had planned 4 domestic tourism awareness campaigns. We were able to achieve 6 awareness campaigns, which were implemented. The first one was in Durban, In September, we were able to do the Western Cape, the Overberg District Municipality. In November, we did the Eastern Cape, Mbizana and Silaka Nature Reserve. In February, we were able to do Free State at the Uniondale Game Farm. Mafikeng, Northwest was done in February again. And in March, we did Gauteng at the Riverstone Lodge. The reason why we were able to overachieve or achieve more than the 4 planned campaigns is that we had done them, but at the same time, we wanted to comply to the technical indicator description, which had Northwest and Gauteng. So we had to in this month, 1 month, be able to do the 2 provinces that were outstanding in terms of the technical indicator. Next slide. On the number of initiatives that we had implemented to support tourism SMMEs, we were able to achieve our implementation of the incubation programs through implementing the technology incubator, the tour operator, and the food services, including the community-based enterprises incubation program. The number of initiatives implemented to increase the participation of women in the sector. We were able to achieve the planned implementation of the Women in Tourism Business Development and Support, which was aimed at supporting 225 women-owned SMMEs, which translated to 25 per province. Next slide. To support visitor to enhance visitor services and experience, we had planned to implement 4 programs. The first one, which was achieved, is the Service Excellence Standards, which incorporated the tourism norms and standards, and we focused on focusing on the small towns and tourism product. We were able to achieve this one, and we implemented KZN at the Bergville town. With regards to the implementation of Tourism Monitors Program, we had partially achieved the target in that we had implemented in all the planned provinces and attractions, but we were not able to implement, not all, in 8 provinces, and we were not able to implement in Limpopo. At the time when the year closed, the process to appoint a service provider had not been finalized for Limpopo. We had earlier in the year embarked on processes, but those processes to appoint a service provider did not yield the results in such that there were challenges with regards to those processes. So at the time when we restarted the process, the year had already gone, and we were not able to implement in Limpopo. Next slide. The other one, in terms of enhancing visitor service, was a program to establish a centralized database of tourist guides. Working together with provinces, we were able to, and provincial registrars, we were able to achieve the target by establishing a centralized database for tourist guides. In terms of safety campaigns sessions, we had planned to do 4. We achieved 6. One was in the Eastern Cape, the other in the Free State, and then there was KZN, Northwest, Limpopo, and the Western Cape. The achievement of a 6 instead of the 4 that was planned was because of the invitations that were received from Limpopo and also from the Western Cape. Next slide. Next slide, please.
How are you there?
I am here. Thank you, Chairperson. I'm waiting for the slide to move. I think I'm left with just one slide.
He is back. He had just experienced load shedding. Honorable Chairperson.
Okay, DJ. Mr. Bazia, can you assist and perhaps give DDG Sitwaba the co-hosting rights? Or committee secretary, if you can.
Sorry, Chair, who do we need to give co-hosting rights to, Chair?
DDG Sitwaba.
Okay, we'll do so right now, Chair.
Okay.
Okay, done, Chair.
Okay, thanks. Can continue, DDG.
Thank you, Chairperson.
Oh, Thabo is now sharing.
Oh. Okay, we can go to the next slide. Oh, thank you. Thank you. Thank you, Chairperson. In terms of the capacity building programs that we had implemented, we had planned to train and place 2,005 retrenched and unemployed youth on our various skills development programs. We were able to train 2,517 youth in our programs such as the food and beverage, professional cookery, food safety, quality assurance, the wine service training, and hospitality youth training program. The reason for the training and placement of more than 2,500 as planned is that additional learners were enrolled in skills programs to manage the dropout rates. As the committee may well be aware that over the years we have been experiencing some dropouts. So this time around, we roped in more learners to mitigate the attrition rate in the skills program. On the 500 SMMEs and the 2,500 unemployed and retrenched youth being trained on the norms and standards for safe tourism operation in all 9 provinces. We also experienced an overachievement. The 2,517 that came from the training and placement who were to be trained and placed and were also trained on the norms and standards, the application of the norms and standards for safe tourism. But we also were able to go beyond the 500 SMMEs that were targeted, in that we trained 71 more SMMEs on the norms and standards. The reason being that our marketing and recruitment was very intense, and that resulted in more SMMEs on the day of the training showing up, and they also received the training. But at the same time, we also recruited more so that we can mitigate against the dropouts. Next slide.
Just a minute. If you can go back to the slide. I know we were not on question. Just clarity for me, so that the 2,500 training and placement on the various skills development programs, is that 2,500 the same as the target 2 which is 2,500 unemployed retrenched youth trained on norms and standards. Is it the same, or is it a separate or different category of unemployed youth? Or do you train the same 2,500 on various skills development programs and the same 2,500 on norms and standards for safe tourism operation? Just clarity on that.
Yes, Chairperson, is the same on the youth side. The target relates to training the 2,500 on our various skills program. And then the second target relates to the very same youth that we are trained on our various skills program, being offered training in terms of the application of our norms and standards. Is the same cohort, Chairperson.
Oh, thanks for the clarity. I thought I was confused whether maybe you recruited 2,500 just for various skills development, and then another 2,500 then for the norms and standard. You've clarified. Thanks so much.
Thank you. The next slide. Thank you, Honorable Chair. The NTCE was hosted at the Johannesburg Expo Center in Nasrec, so the target was achieved. In terms of the 30 chefs that we will enroll in the recognition of prior learning process for them to obtain a professional qualification or a designation, we were able, Chairperson, to enroll the 30 chefs, and all of them were found to be competent, and they received their NQF level 5 chef occupational certificates. There was a graduation ceremony that was held for them. We were very fortunate, Chairperson, in that in this regard, we had planned 30 and we had recruited 30, and all of them were able to stay in the program and not drop out, but at the same time, a great achievement in that the recognition of prior learning process was fruitful in that they were fully found to be competent. That is all from Program 4, Honorable Chair and Honorable Members. Thank you.
You can just show your face, DDG.
I have my camera on. Okay, now visible. Thank you, Chairperson.
Okay. Back to you, DG.
Honorable Chairperson, that is our annual report 2022-23 financial year. Thank you.
Can we ask that we be taken through the first and second, and then we will then allow honorable members to ask questions. They will indicate whether the question relates to the annual report or the first and second quarterly reports after the presentation. Over to you, DG.
Thank you, Honorable Chairperson. We have tried to do a summary of the 2 quarters so that we are able to provide the information a lot quicker. So let's go to the summarized version of the annual report. I mean, of the first and second quarter reports.
Maybe Thabo still having challenge. Can we ask Mr. Pazia if you can assist? Okay.
There we go, Honorable Chairperson. Thank you. Let's go to the slide 4. Thabo. Slide, there we go. Thank you. Honorable Chairperson, in quarter 1, we were at 82%. And I do need to indicate that this is really work in progress. And even in instances where the DDGs would come in, I would want them to also go a little bit more into the detail of what we are likely not to achieve if there is going to be something like that. But in the first quarter, both Program 2 as well as Program 3, they both had 100%. Program 1 was at 66.7%, and Program 4 was at 73%. There was still quite some significant work that had not necessarily been done yet in terms of achieved yet in terms of Program 3, which Program 4 rather, which in the main would also entail what is deemed to be service delivery type targets, most of which is still going to be achieved, but is lagging behind. And this would be, in some instances, work that would relate to safety tourism monitors. It would also be work that would relate to tourism. So it will be the monitors, it will be some issues around SMMEs work that was still slightly lagging behind, but we will then go into some of the details of what exactly that was without necessarily, taking note of the time. In terms of let's move to, no, this is what we just presented, the next one. No, go back to, sorry, Tabo, go back to the, yes. Yeah, no, the table. Thank you. No, not that one. The quarter 2. Next slide. Yes, that one. The table one at the top. Just go back one more slide. Thank you. I don't know what's going on there.
I'm going to the table.
Slide 6. Slide 6 tab. Thank you. Sorry about that, Honorable Chairperson, and sorry, tab. The quarter 2, slight improvement in Program 1. There will still be some areas that we're going to need to do a whole lot more on them. And those amongst others, Honorable Chairperson, would include the issues that I was highlighting earlier, which would relate to women at SMS level, which would relate to making sure that we've got our vacancy rate right. And these are also affected by what I said. We have to go and request public service to grant us approval to proceed with the filling of these particular vacancies. We are hoping that we will soon get that, and we will then be able to restart some of the processes, because where the processes had already sort of commenced, we will also get guidance as to whether do we proceed or do we recommence. And there's an issue about regulations and the amount of time that may have lapsed and all those kinds of things that we would need to acquaint ourselves with. So that part, I do believe that we will most likely be able to meet almost all the targets. And I'm saying this because I'm also presenting Program 1. Most likely we will be able to meet most of the targets way above 80%, hopefully even up to 90%. But the one target that we know even now that we will do the best we can get it as closely as possible. There's 1 or 2 invoices that were coming from the previous period, which found themselves in that particular space where the 30-day issue would have been a problem. And because of that, even if it is just 1 invoice in a million invoices, it's not 100%, even if it's 99.999999%. So that will be the area where even now we are at 99.7%, which is quite significant. But because we target 100%, that is where we may find that we will not necessarily get that one. The DDGs would then also indicate which areas they think there's a likelihood not to completely achieve everything. From where I sit, the likelihood of us actually getting to 90% in this current financial year is still there, and is much, much, much higher. We are doing everything that we can to be able to move with speed. There will be instances where the DDGs will tell you, in one instance, where we are supposed to be bringing in 2,500 youth. First time around, we had a process that did not materialize in terms of supply chain. And what we experienced there was that the people that set for this thing, unfortunately, we discovered that there was a bid that was submitted late, which got to be entertained, which is against the rules. And it was entertained in an environment where information about it having been submitted late was known to those actors. So these are some of the issues that we are dealing with. So we had to go back, retest the market. When we came back, the market's response was limited in terms of the needs that we had actually put out. Then we had to go back again. So those delays actually are some of the factors that you see in terms of what's reflected here with regards to this particular performance. But overall, I do believe that we will be in a position to still get the targets that we've actually put in, particularly the service delivery targets. We are likely to be able to achieve them more than what we did in the previous financial year. Let's move on to the actual program substance. This is what I was explaining, Honorable Chairperson. If you look at number 3, we've got 98.09 in the first quarter, and then we've got 99.71 in the second quarter in terms of percentage of invoices that were paid within the 30 days. And that is an area that I must say, or saying we're still going to have to deal with fully. We believe that number 4, much as it looks the way it looks in the first quarter, which was 31.94, overall in the end of the year we'll achieve it. That's why you see we are already at 42.2%. This is because we have actually looked into our own internal procurement policy and made sure that these things are addressed and included, but also the issue that I raised earlier, that we are not counting transversal contracts because we've got no control over them at all. We are doing well when it comes to the issue of procurement from businesses the small businesses from SMMEs against that 40% target that we've got. Previously, we used to have a 30% target, and of course, the designation is actually the 30%, but we have actually got a stretch target, and even in that stretch target now we are at 62.2%. So there we seem to be actually moving in the right direction. Let's move to the next one, Tara. The issue of the public entity oversight, SAT, this is an area that we're paying a lot of attention on, but there are some few things that we've got to strengthen. The intention here is that we must make sure that there's a sense of standardization, and that standardization must be in the oversight framework, and that oversight framework is the one that then would be able to assist us to say, this is the requirement, and where is this in terms of this particular requirement. So that is the instrument that we need to make sure it's actually finalized. But the other areas, we are fine in this regard, except the area where I'm concerned, and I had indicated, we have put this stretch target, government's own target in terms of, and I think it's important for us to highlight this, government's own target in terms of the vacancy rate is 8%. Now, because we had met and surpassed that 8%, there was a view that we should stretch that target, which we did, to 6%. But at the moment, the filling of the positions would then need to be fast-tracked so that we do not necessarily end up with a stretch target having met what the normal target should be, but the stretch target not met. When we get measured, we don't get measured on what the target out there is, we get measured on the target that is in our books. So this is an area that we will have to really deal with. However, any post that is not funded, we will have to make sure that it is not part of the structure. It's not something that we are counting, because it would not make sense to say we have a vacancy, but that vacancy, we know for a fact that it will never be filled because we've got no money. So those are some of the things that we will also look into. Let's move to slide 12. We are doing the best we can at SMS level in terms of appointment of women. At the moment, as we speak, Honorable Chairperson, we are at 48.8%. That 48.8%, as of last month, end of last month, would have changed probably back to the 47 point something percent, because there's yet another a woman who SMS member who has actually retired as well. In fact, 2 that have retired after that period. So it keeps on, or it's a fluid thing, but we are cognizant of that continuous shift in the process of how we're going to fill the other positions. So we have designated across the different positions that are vacant, both in terms of a sense of demographics when it comes to race, but also a sense of demographics when it comes to gender. We have also looked into that. Let's move on to the next one. Persons with disability, we are still at 4.5%, Honorable Chairperson. The implementation of the audit action plans, of course, we are still within the year. So now we are at 50% of its full implementation. And so we'll continue to track it and make sure that it is actually fully implemented by the end of the financial year. And we are implementing our communication strategy, which is multifold, using different platforms and so on, including also outreaches that are conducted by our political principals. I will then hand over to TDG Malan to take the honorable members through the program 2. Thank you.
Thank you very much, DG. Honorable Chair and honorable members, I'm again going to go through program 2 in terms of quarter 1 and quarter 2. DG highlighted the achievements in summary for the program. Just to recap that for Q1, the program achieved all the targets. Program 2, there were 2 targets that we didn't 100% achieve, but significant work was done, and I will also speak to those targets when I get to those. So in terms of our monitoring and evaluation reports, we again targeted 5 reports for the current financial year. And for Q1 and Q2, we achieved our targets, and we are on track to achieve our annual targets as well. The reports refer to our assessment of the state of public-owned tourist attractions that was supported or were supported and still are supported by the Department of Tourism. We are also continuing with our monitoring of new and continuing capacity building programs. We are doing an evaluation of the departmental incubation approach, specifically in the Pilanesberg Tourism Incubator, Mayaleti Tourism Incubator, the Phalaborwa Tourism Incubator, and the Mir Incubator. In terms of our 4th report, it refers to the evaluation of the Grading Council's accommodation program. And then lastly, we are developing biannual monitoring of the performance of the tourism sector. Next slide, please. In terms of our second indicator that refers to the work that we do to improve our tourism statistics. For the year, for the current financial year, we have targeted the development of a national tourism statistics plan, and this is one of the recommendations from the report that we did in the previous financial year, and I reported on previously. We did achieve the first quarter target, but we only partially achieved the second quarter target. Our second quarter target was to develop a terms of reference for this plan, for the development of this plan. The draft terms of reference is available and was developed, but we did feel that we had to do a bit more consultation on the terms of reference, noting the wide range of stakeholders that we have in this space and the importance of provincial stakeholders to come on board. So we've delayed the finalization of the terms of reference slightly, just to allow for that consultation to happen. We will, however, we have already catch up on this, and we will achieve our annual target as things look at the moment. In terms of the third indicator that speaks to the development of our information and knowledge systems, with the first one speaking to the tourism and employment portal, and the second one speaking to our tourist guide system. We are on track in terms of our targets, and we delivered according to our Q1 and Q2 targets. Next slide, please. In terms of the work that we are doing in the multilateral grouping space to advance our interests at regional, continental, and global level, we have targeted the 6 multilateral fora. We achieved our first quarter target that was focused on our participation in the World Tourism Organization program of work. The second quarter targets focused on the BRICS noting the South Africa is chairing BRICS. We plan to host 2 senior officials meetings together with a ministerial meeting in the second quarter. Unfortunately, we were not able to host the ministerial meeting due to the unavailability of BRICS members to attend. But we subsequently did host the tourism ministerial meeting in October. In terms of our target around the implementation of the SADC tourism program of work, we reached our target. We did what we planned to do. In terms of our sharing of best practices, it's our annual workshop that I also referred to in the annual presentation. We are planning our workshop for 2024, and we did achieve our quarterly targets for both quarter 1 and quarter 2. And then in terms of our outreach program, we have once again targeted 2 diplomatic outreach programs. And for this year, the one is to China, and the other one is to Kenya. And for the period under review, we reach our quarterly targets. And just perhaps also to indicate that both these outreach programs are happening in the next 2 weeks. Minister is leading the outreach to China and Deputy Minister to Kenya. So in summary, Honorable Chair and Honorable Members, the 2 targets that we didn't fully achieve, the one is around the terms of reference, which I indicated that we have catch up on that. And the second target was around the ministerial, not hosting the ministerial BRICS meeting, but that was also subsequently hosted. So as things stand at the moment, we are well on track to deliver on all our targets, and we trust that when we present the annual report, that will indeed be the case. Thank you very much, Honorable Chair. I'm heading over to Dr. Chettiar. Thanks.
Through you, Honorable Chair, thank you very much, DG Milan. I'll present destination development. In summary, as the DG has indicated, in quarter 1, 100% of the targets for destination development were achieved. In quarter 2, 87.5% of the targets were achieved, with 1 target not being achieved. That's the work opportunities target. But when I come to that specific slide, Honorable Chair and Honorable Members, I will explain the details around that. The first slide then, as is the custom, speaks to 2 of the targets speak to our work in destination planning, and 1 and 2 of them speak to our work in investment facilitation. For the first target, which is related to the concepts that we are finalizing from our spatial master plans and integrating into the DDM1 plans for the 4 districts as listed. In quarter 1, we planned on doing a concept for eThekwini and then Tambala Resort, and both of those were finalized. In quarter 2, we targeted 6 tourism concepts that we incorporated into the Karoo and Eastern Seaboard Development Regional Plans. The budget resort modalities, as well as the selection of the project implementation committees, were completed in quarter 1 and quarter 2. And our work on the pipeline of nationally prioritized tourism investment projects and the investment platforms were completed as we set out. Next slide, please. Thank you very much. In terms of our work on the infrastructure maintenance program, as well as the community projects, Honorable Chair and Honorable Members, we have provided a very detailed annexure which speaks to each of the projects and progress per project, both from a maintenance and from a community project perspective. So I won't speak to the detail that's contained in the annexure. Suffice to provide a summary on the projects that we're implementing. So we're implementing work in terms of the maintenance program according to our APP targets in 5 provinces. We have 6 projects in the Eastern Cape, 4 in the Free State, 5 in Limpopo, 4 in Mpumalanga, and 6 in the Western Cape. And in the Q1, 25 of these projects were in implementation. In the report that we've provided to you, 16 of the projects in maintenance in Q2 had achieved practical completion. And practical completion basically means that all of the work is completed on the project, and there's a short period of snagging where any challenges might be addressed and fixed, and these are really minor issues that need to be addressed before a final completion certificate is issued. In terms of our community projects, we have, in summary, 5 in the Eastern Cape, 3 each in the Free State and the Northwest, 11 in Mpumalanga, and 11 in Limpopo, and 2 in Mpumalanga, KZN, and the Northern Cape. In Q1, 5 of these projects were in procurement. In Q2, 1 of them moved from procurement into construction. There were 2 projects that had specialist studies being conducted on them. And in Q1, of course, there were 22 in construction or implementation. And in Q2, there were 23 then in construction and implementation. By the end of Q2, on our community projects, 2 of these had in fact reached practical completion. And there were 2 additional projects that were very close to practical completion. The next indicator is work that we're currently doing on township and rural tourism events. And in the quarter under review, we were basically sorting out our project management and implementation plans. Honorable members, that has now gone out, and there is a team that is adjudicating these various proposals that have come from different provinces, and we'll report more detail when we report on Q3. The work opportunities target then, honorable members, the annual target is 4,133. Important to say that when we set our quarterly targets, we use a formula that is provided to us by DPWI, and the formula isn't an exact science. So in Q1, we had a target of 642 work opportunities, and in fact in Q1 we exceeded that target by achieving 1,676 work opportunities. In Q2, our target was 1,439 work opportunities, and we actually only achieved 475 of those work opportunities. However, if we look at the cumulative target that was set for Q1 and 2, the cumulative target, if you look at it, was 2,081, and our actual achievement is 2,151. So at this point, honorable members, we are on track with the achievement of our work opportunities. If you look cumulatively at Q1 and 2, whether we achieve the final work opportunities target, which we're working very hard towards, will largely be dependent on whether our procurement processes for the skills development and safety monitors programs are successful. And we are hopeful that we will be able to meet and exceed this target. But I think DDG Sitwaba will speak to the details of the procurement processes in the Skills Development and Safety Monitors program. Thank you very much. I'll hand over to DDG Sitwaba now.
Thank you very much, DDG, Honorable Chair and Honorable Members. For quarter one and quarter two, we have 19 targets, 14 of which were achieved. One, we recorded work that was described as significantly being done. 4 targets were not fully achieved. The implementation of the Green Tourism Incentive Program was achieved. A report was able to be produced detailing the work that was done in terms of implementation of the program. Our 4 domestic tourism campaigns, we had targeted one campaign in quarter two. There was no a target for quarter one because we regarded that as the planning phase. In quarter two, we were able to successfully implement the World Tourism Day on the 27th of September and the Tourism Month, both being implemented in the Northwest province. Next slide. On the incubation programs as an initiative to support tourism SMMEs, we were able to implement the existing business incubators. We added 2 more to the existing ones, which is the Women in Tourism in Limpopo, which was achieved. We also added the business advisory services, where we are focusing on homestays. This is a pilot program, and we were not able to achieve it both in the first quarter and in the second quarter. A concept document was crafted. There were some issues that we needed to clarify before we could receive approval. It is now back into the system for consideration, and we are hopeful that once the concept document is approved, we will be able to appoint a service provider to be able to support the homestays in the Eastern Cape. Next one. On the incubation program as well, we were to do an audit of tourism incubators across the country. The milestone there being to call for all incubators to have a database, again to target specifically again academics who are running tourism business incubators. In the first quarter, we were not able to achieve the call for depositing of information related to incubators. We had planned to send out in the newspapers operating nationally. But then the cost for the publications were too high. At the time when we were negotiating a reduction or some consideration in terms of the cost, the quarters went, quarter one went by. Again, in the publication, we were specifically going to target academia as well. When we realized that we were not able to meet the target in quarter one, we separated the academia, and we were able to write to institutions of learning for them to be able to provide us with information. In quarter two, an audit was indeed done, in that all the information that we had requested, we were able to receive. We had analyzed the information, and we were able to determine what will be the needs, the viability of incubation programs across the country. Another target that we were not able to achieve is the implementation of the resource efficiency cleaner production training. This is a program that seeks to equip our youth as cleaner energy production practitioners. This was not achieved. We spent quite a lot of time looking at government departments or entities that we can participate in their contracts for us to be able to train at 25, but we didn't receive the concurrence of Treasury at the time when we went out to publish a tender. The process was duly followed up, but at the end, in Q2, the adjudication committee didn't give us a decision to appoint a service provider, partly because there was a slow, there were only 2 bidders that had sent through their bids, and they didn't meet the specification. We are currently in another process to be able to appoint a service provider, but at the same time pursuing some other entities such as CSIR and the Department of Trade and Industry, if they have contracts wherein they are providing this kind of training. We are asking for their for them to consider us to participate with the 25 youth that we will want to train. The process has duly started in terms of appointment of a service provider, and if we are fortunate enough for the government entities to allow us to participate, we surely will meet this target. The implementation of the service excellence is on track. We have achieved the targets. The first targets and the second target is going very well in terms of the consultations and also the assessments and the endorsement that we would be expecting from the municipalities has been able to happen. The Tourism Monitors program in Q1, we were not able to appoint a service provider. That is for the 9 provinces, including at parks like sun parks and also tourism attractions. We were not able to achieve that. The reason being that there was I won't call it a review, but there was intense consultation with the private sector. We also went on it's a consultation as well with provinces, determining the hotspots and looking at the needs of a particular hotspots, determining the number of monitors that needed to be placed. Actually galvanizing the private sector to come on board so that we can be able to mitigate issues of crime against tourists. But again, we have been going through a number of procurement processes which were tainted. DG has spoken to some of the challenges that we had met internally in our procurement system. We have advertised the tender currently that will close on the 22nd. We have an action plan where we are really putting all of our efforts to make sure that the implementation, our tourism monitors will be on sites come December, which is normally the peak of our festive season. On the other side, in terms of raising awareness regarding tourist safety, we had planned one awareness session per quarter. Quarter 1 and quarter 2, we were able to achieve the awareness session. On quarter 1, we did one in Mpumalanga. Quarter 2, we did a session in the Eastern Cape. And the reports regarding the joint session has been developed. Next slide. The training and placement of 2,500 unemployed youth was achieved in the first quarter. We had 1,351 in the second quarter. Cumulatively, we recorded 1,695. 250 SMMEs to be trained on the norms and standards in all provinces. We were able to develop a project plan for the training. The second target there for quarter 1 was the procurement of a service provider, which was partially achieved. In fact, we had concluded the process. It was an RFQ, but we took the latitude to be able to interrogate the capability of the service provider who had scored high points. And at the inception meeting with them, we discovered that they did not have one of the core element, which is the occupational health and safety, which really talks to the ability to be able to train on the norms and standards. So we were not able to finalize the appointment for that reason. But in quarter 2, we have since finalized. The recruitment and selection of SMMEs has been undertaken, and as we speak, we are wrapping up. We started in October in earnest to deliver the training that we will be able to finalize in the middle of November. The NTCE 2023, the project plan was developed. This is the final year in which Gauteng is hosting. And we have been able to, Gauteng has hosted. We are now moving on to the next. We have been able to meet with our partners after the development of a project plan, and the planning that was to happen in quarter 1 and quarter 2 has happened, and that is why we are recording an achievement in those areas. Chairperson, in terms of the 50 chefs that are to undergo the RPL process, quarter 1, we achieved the deliverable, which was the project plan in terms of how we will implement the program. We were not able to do the recruitment of the learners. We are implementing this in KZN and the Western Cape provinces. We were a little delayed in terms of the appointment of a service provider, and that was spilled over into the quarter 2 deliverables. We have been able to catch up. A service provider was appointed, and the work is ongoing. And the 1,500 youth being trained on our various skills development. The training programs have been identified. Recruitment and onboarding of participants was undertaken in the first quarter. And some training has also started to happen in the first quarter. In the second quarter, we have recorded the 1,695 unemployed youth that have been trained and are placed with host employers. Thank you, Chairperson. That is the last slide for Program 4. Thank you.
So much. Back to you, DG.
Thank you, Honorable Chairperson. I have already highlighted the demographics earlier. Suffice to say that if you look at the current, there's slight improvement between what we had in the previous year with regards to colored population as well as the white population. So there is slight improvement, but it's a continuous balancing act that we're trying to do. And as I said, there's a whole lot of positions that we still have to fill, and we are trying to pursue that as much as we possibly can. Let's move, Tabo, to finances. Honorable Chairperson, what I want to highlight here is that the first quarter and the second quarter. First quarter, you would see that we were at 31% in terms of the actual expenditure that we had planned. And at that time, part of what actually shows that is because of the money that we were able to transfer initially to SAT. But if you go to the next slide, here, Chairperson, you would then see that we are still at 32% by, no, not this one. Yes, this one. You will see that we're still at 37% of the actual expenditure, whilst we had actually projected that by that time we would be at 62%. And part of this is because we have not been able to transfer some of the money that was supposed to go to SAT. Which then would still be showing as a large balance that is still within our books, and that has been a factor. But the other factors also would have been some of the delays that we have raised with regards to the supply chain that was not handled correctly, of which I need to state we are dealing with those issues. I requested Minister to do an independent external investigation on the matter, and that is almost concluded now. So we'll be in a position to take the requisite steps to correct that sort of conduct. Honorable Chairperson, that is the in brief our report with regards to the first and the second quarter. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, DG, and also DDGs for the presentation of the annual report, the first and second quarter reports. Can I request that the presentation be taken off the screen? Thank you so much. Honorable members, it's time for questions. You'll indicate your question whether they are on annual report or on first and second. You can ask all the questions on the two areas, annual report, first and second quarters report. And then after that, we'll allow DG to allocate responses to himself and the DDGs. And then after that, the Honorable DM will make areas of emphasis and closing remarks. But on the closing remarks, DM, just to prepare yourself. This morning I was listening on one of the radio stations. So there's a confusion in terms of understanding of the Tourism Business Council of South Africa and the Department of Tourism. There was this thing about department has given millions to Trevor Noah for tourism advert. And then those millions, as they were indicating, are coming from the fiscus. So maybe in your closing remarks, you can also clarify the TB CSA and also the monies, because there was that confusion. It's just a pity that I didn't have number of these DJs that were telling the public about the money that comes from the fiscus to Trevor Noah. Give you the opportunity to explain to the public about this whole situation. Thank you so much. I see the hand of Honorable Dango, Ambassador Dango, followed by Honorable Boshoff. With that order, please. Over to you, Honorable Dango.
Thank you very much, Chairperson. Chairperson, my questions are on the quarter 1 and 2. The first and second quarter reports of the department as depicted in slide 4 and slide 6 indicates that there's a need for intervention in the tourism sector support services program, wherein 21 and 25% deliverables were not achieved for both quarters, 1 and 2 respectively. What sort of challenges does this program have, and what are the planned interventions? My second question on that same is, on the tourism sector support services program, the number of domestic tourism awareness programs implemented was not achieved. And as a performance, a target of 1 to 2, despite the awareness programs that were planned, what is the way forward, and how are they going to overcome this challenge? On the AG's report, Chairperson, on the Auditor General's report, an unqualified audit report is commendable. However, the department needs to explain the reasons why non-compliance where applicable legislation in the area is of great concern. Is there any consequences management for this particular regard? And lastly, Chairperson, on our capacity building programs, particularly on the one on training of young chefs, can they please provide a provincial spread for those training programs without focusing on provinces with big metros? Chairperson, also I want to say the following. Normally, when audits are being done, the focus is in compliance and how people have complied. They're not doing outcomes and effective outcomes. What we need to know is, how has tourism improved over the period? Where has it improved? And what kind of tourists are we attracting? Are we attracting backpackers only? And what is the tourism yield from the countries that we're in fact targeting? Thank you very much, Chairperson. And Chairperson, I do not listen to the radio in the mornings because it gets me upset. I only listen in the afternoons.
Oh, okay. Thank you so much, Ambassador Dango. Over to you, Honorable Boshoff.
Thank you very much, Chair. If Honorable Dango were to listen in the mornings, he'd be wide awake, but that for another debate. Thank you very much. Honorable Dango has asked some of the questions that I was going to ask, and I am in agreement with him with regard to that. On the annual report, spend on women, 40%, that's very commendable. But we've been stuck at 40% for quite some time. And we know, especially in the rural areas, women are the people that are doing the small SMMEs and doing these little tourism income projects. So I'd like to ask the department if they at all see themselves improving on the percentage of 40% to, let's say, 42 or 45%. And then well done on the disability targets. Very proud about that. And then on the green paper and on the development and promotion of tourism, it's very important to get the white paper reviewed, as the dynamics of tourism has changed drastically, especially after our COVID episode. And if I understand correctly, the cabinet cluster process has not commenced because of the CIAS. Can we just be given information with regard to this, because we need to see this white paper coming out so that a policy document can then be drawn up. With regard to Program 3, Dr. Chetia, I was always under the impression it's Mrs. Chetia, but if she received her doctorate in between, well done. I was not aware of that. Destination enhancement. Could you please give me some feedback on Metsi-Matsu project in the Free State? We haven't touched on that. Vredefort Dome, I see you spoke about that, but it is an attraction of importance. And not recently, about a year ago, a family of mine went there and they were not very impressed. So if we can get some information. And then with regard to the Dinosaur Park in Free State, the Interpretation Park Centre, could Dr. Chetia also give us feedback on that as to where we stand? Because at one point in time, there was absolutely nothing going on there. And then Program 4, Mrs. Satwaba. On slide 37, you said that Limpopo had not achieved, the service provider was not finalized. Is there any consequent management on this? Because it does not impact the department per se, it impacts the people of Limpopo if the department, the provincial department doesn't do its work. The slide 38, the safety campaign, why are all the provinces not part of this? And then you spoke on slide number 39 about the dropouts previously, but not this time around. Could you possibly tell me why there were dropouts? And then all your training, when you train people, are follow-ups done with these youth? Because I take it that not all of them can be placed. So what do we do with the percentage of youth that are trained but are not placed in jobs? And then Program 3 on the first and second quarterly reports. On slide 22, the work opportunities. Yes, it's commendable if you look at the cumulative total, but why were you only able to receive institute 475 work opportunities in quarter 2? And then on Program 4, slide 26, tourism monitors program, again a service provider not appointed. It's very important that this is done to improve our image with our possible tourists from abroad, because we have seen a number of safety issues popping up in the past. So if we could expedite this. And then, Chair, I'd like to know, because on slide 37, the transfer to SAT, it is lower than, they say the requirements are lower than projected, and the second tranche is not transferred. Now, you spoke about the TBC on the news today, but if you have followed the news with regard to SAT, South African Tourism, the board and all those type of things, I really, really think that we should have SAT report to this committee so that we can hear firsthand what is going on. So I'd like to know from the department what their issues are with regard to the South African tourism entity. Thank you very much, Chair.
Thank you so much, Honorable Boshoff. Honorable Moimang.
For the opportunity. Just in terms of one of the issues that we raised, Chair, was the need to ensure that the program, the department is not only just focusing on metros. I think one of the issues that we raised was the need to also promote rural tourism, and not only just rural tourism, but also targeted groupings like young people and also women entities. It will be important just to get a sense in terms of within the context of DDM, whether there has been a change, because I remember we were quite categorical to say let's move beyond economic hubs such as Gauteng and Western Cape, with a view to change the face of tourism. If one could just get a sense as to whether is there a deliberate program in relation to that, but also of concern also, Chair, is the need to improve. If you look at the performance, particularly in relation to the wasteful expenditure, it has been recorded that there are new cases, and then these new cases relate to cancellations and or amendments or no shows. Is there consequence management in relation to that? Because this is an area that is recorded, but we also appreciate the fact that the department did not incur unauthorized expenditure. But I think what is important is to point out that there was a recording of fruitless, wasteful, but there was no unauthorized expenditure. It will be important also just to get a sense whether is there movement in terms of particularly in relation to program that support SAT. What is the latest? Because you get a sense from the presentation that particularly in relation to first and second expenditure, quarterly expenditure, that there is an expenditure because of the instruction from Parliament, and what you pick up from the presentation or from the report is that the matter is dealt with at the level of the leader of government business. Maybe just in terms of being proactive, just an update, because the select committee has not taken that decision, but the other sister committee has done that until the finalization of the board. Maybe just an update as to whether is there any improvement in relation to the composition of the board, so that you get a sense as to whether is the situation getting under control or not. Thank you, Chairperson. Let me stop there.
Thank you very much, Honorable Moimang. Are there any other members who would like to pose questions? If not, maybe let's start Honorable DM and DG on the issue of perhaps this issue of understanding by the fact that the tranche was not given to SAT. Maybe at some stage, I don't know, that's not very late now, to review our program and perhaps see whether we can get a full briefing on SAT. But because it's meshing under program 2, which is responsible for that particular entity, the DG tried to explain what is happening, but it was not specific. Maybe once we are now unable to meet with the SAT, if just aspect, if we can just get a bit of a detail as to why the portfolio committee decided to take the decision that it took with regard to stopping or suspending the allocation or the tranche going to the SAT, just that part. I'm not quite sure if earlier Ms. Solomons, I saw Advocate Shamara was connected. I don't know if she's still here with us. Because what I also wanted to find out from her in particular, if because the budgets of the departments and entities is approved by Parliament, not one house. So I wanted to check if one house takes a decision with regard to the budget, can that decision be implemented without first consulting the other house? It's an aspect I wanted to find out. So, but I'm not sure if the Advocate Shamara is with us now, because earlier on I did see that she was logged in.
Chair, I've just messaged her. She was on the platform earlier. She will be logging in shortly to respond to that question. Okay, no, thanks so much. The other issue, DG, relates to this. I think the Honorable Dango raised it, but you did explain it with regard to why we could not get a clean audit. Was because of the implementing agency, which is DBSA. Now, maybe just a clarity there, because I was surprised that because of an implementing agents, you could not, you found that you have not complied with the relevant or applicable legislation. Now, my concern is that what happens if maybe then another legislation is violated by the implementing agents? For example, the issue of the employment equity as an example. So that would mean that you will be penalized for that. How would you have known that the DBSA appointed a service provider that did not comply with the tax issues? Just a clarity on that, so that we are able to avoid it going forward. Then the question, or maybe with regard to program 3, I know that the members, there are also other annexures that have been sent with regard to with regard to the projects. But what I wanted to find out, there was a slide that I'm trying to go to that slide or the one that talks about the number of work opportunities created through working for tourism. My request there would be that this is on the annual report, where there was a target of 4,104. Then we overachieved by
5,315. If we could have a breakdown in terms of the provinces with regard to those opportunities, the breakdown there. As you know that we represent provinces, we would like to find out where. That will be the same also with regard to DDG program 4. Those numbers, the retrenched and unemployed, if we could also have a breakdown in terms of the provinces there, but also if we could have more information in terms of the breakdown with regard to the breakdown in terms of the sectors. There you referring to food and beverages. In terms of that 2,517, how many in terms of that particular sector, which is food and beverage, professional cookery, food safety, quality assurance, wine service training, hospitality, youth training, a breakdown with regard to those. We'll really appreciate even if we could get that information in writing with regard to those details. No, thank you very much. I don't know if Shamara is back.
Yes, she is, Chair.
Okay, Shamara, we in terms of the report of the department, program 2, which is responsible for South African tourism, the portfolio committee recommended that the tranche should not be sent to the department. I'm sure maybe before you respond, we will allow the DG just to explain in detail as to why the portfolio committee came to that conclusion or decision. But the point I was raising is that because this has to do with the budget that was passed by Parliament, meaning that both houses. So the question would be, can one house decide on the issues relating to the allocation of budget, its implementation, without consulting the other house? So that's a clarity, but the DG will first, maybe the DG, I'll request that maybe you start with this one in terms of response before you allocate responses to other DDGs. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Honorable Chairperson. My network is very, very weak. I'm humbly requesting not to put the camera on.
Okay.
Thank you, Honorable Chairperson. The initial amount that we were able to transfer was about just under 600 million. And this was done prior to the finalization of the processes and so on. There were going to be other tranches that were then going to be made to SAT so that they can execute their business. But obviously, when the budget was passed, there was an indication, subsequent indication, that there were certain conditions that had to be met prior to myself as the accounting officer transferring money to the entity. These came from the National Assembly, not from the National House of Provinces, which did not have any condition whatsoever. And the conditions, amongst others, include appointment of the board, appointment of the executives. There was a request to change the 21 million tourists by 2030, which was the target that was actually put by the president. That it should be realistic and so on, but it's not inside the APP itself. it's a stretch target that looks at the future. There was a response that was provided to the Speaker of Parliament that came from the Minister on these matters. At the moment, the body is not yet appointed. The indication by the Minister at the appearance at the PC, last appearance at the PC, which was last month, was that it would be done within the month of November, and there is a process underway for the appointment of the executives, but I am not privileged to that information because it's a process that is handled by the board. So that's where we are at. There was a revision that was done to say the 21 remains a stretch target, but realistically it's about 15 million something that would then be considered to be a firm target with regards to the 2030 issue and so on. I'm not sure if there's been a response to the letter that was
Honorable Tafeni, please mute. Sorry for that, DJ.
That's okay. So at this point in time, I am not very sure as to whether there has been a response yet back to the Minister from the Speaker, but that's all I've got from my side, Honorable Chairperson. Thank you.
Thank you, DG. Maybe because we have to ask Advocate Samara to log in, so we just want to give an opportunity so that if there's another meeting or duty that she want to complete, she can then log out after this. So before we go to other responses, let's give her the opportunity to maybe assist the members how to deal with this matter. Advocate Samara Ali.
Good day, Chairperson. Good day, honorable members and colleagues. Chair, usually when it comes to the budget, each committee will consider portfolios that are within its domain and within, basically each select committee is assigned portfolios which they would consider. In this case, tourism has been assigned to our committee, hence the consideration of the tourism budget. However, it's the Select Committee on Appropriations and Finance that deals with the final allocations of the department. I won't go into the procedural requirements or legality of what had happened in the National Assembly. In an ideal world, we would have had consultation between the between the portfolio and the Select Committee to arrive at a decision, especially such a serious decision that has implications. What the Select Committee can do is make recommendations. Other than that, I'm afraid the committee wouldn't be able to do much more because this is outside our domain. Although tourism is within our portfolio, the budget is it lies within the Select Committee on Appropriations. The way to proceed will be we can write the chairperson of the council can write to or you yourself can write to the chairperson of the Select Committee on Appropriations, but I'm not sure how effective that will be at this point in time. Perhaps, Chair, we would want to, in our recommendations, ensure that if the committee is perhaps recommending that this particular budget be approved, we can enlist that. Thank you, Chairperson.
Thank you. We did approve in the House the budget, but I think the point now is that the Portfolio Committee on Tourism on its own is taking a decision relating to the budget that was approved by the House or both houses. Yeah, that's where I have a confusion on. I understand that it's a matter you say that we could raise it with the Select Committee on Appropriation.
Sorry, Chair, that is correct. However, the budget will only, the adjustments appropriation bill will only be passed by the NCOP on the 8th of December. So we still have time to make input and liaise with the chair of the Select Committee on Appropriations thus far. I think what you're referring to is probably the report on the APP that was adopted by the House, but the budget is still to come before the NCOP. Thank you.
I think this one refers to the one that we've already adopted, I think around June. My understanding, DG, isn't it?
That is correct. Yes.
So we've already adopted it, but now on their own, they're making, I would say, amendment, for lack of better word, without consulting the other committee that deals with tourism.
Yes, I do understand your point. But if any adjustments were to be made, it would be made by the Select Committee on Appropriations at the plenary on the 8th of December. So we still do have time to maneuver. If the Select Committee opts to have consultations with the committee in the NA, we have that opportunity. But like I said, the bill will not be passed unless the NCOP has consideration of it on the 8th of December. Thank you.
I see the hand of Deputy Minister. Over to you, Honorable Deputy Minister.
No, thanks. No. We don't have to mix the two things. Yeah. The issue we're raising has got nothing to do with the adjustment appropriation. Mm-hmm. The issue that is before us is the issue that took place in June, which the Portfolio Committee in its report placed conditions which attach into it the issue of transfer. The fundamental question that I was raising is that we are not allowed to transfer the money on the basis of a decision of a committee of the House, while there are two houses. And my understanding is that there's no house that supersedes another house. Therefore, the decision that was taken, in my view, by the Portfolio Committee on Tourism, not to transfer the money, is irrational and illegal. And it can't stand the test of legality, which I'm not sure why it has been lifted and elevated to a position of Parliament, because that's how it is treated. It is treated as a position of Parliament, while it is not. Because a position of Parliament is a decision of both houses. If a matter needs to be taken by both houses, like the appropriation, it's a responsibility of both houses. So if the Portfolio Committee had a problem, they should have consulted the Select Committee and then have a discussion. And if they don't agree, then a mediation should have been brought in. And then at the end of the day, have this. But they took that decision alone, which in my view has got no legal standing and no implication on the matter. But we're unfortunately, both politically and administratively, we've decided to take a position that create an impression that the Portfolio Committee or the National Assembly, it's higher than the NCOP, and decision taken by them must then be the one that get carried through at the expense of the decision of the NCOP. And unfortunately, even the Speaker didn't follow proper processes, because she wrote to the department, to the minister, arising from this report of the Portfolio Committee, not writing a report that represents Parliament, but writing a report that represents a portfolio committee, telling the department to do and not what to do on the basis of the portfolio committee report, not on the basis of the parliamentary report. So that's why the confusion is, Chair. Thanks.
No, thank you so much. I think it's a matter we will still follow up, maybe as management committee with Advocate Samara to further advise with this information. I think maybe Honorable Mwimang, I think at some stage was also involved in this, could advise as well. Maybe let's take it outside this forum for now, and then we'll report back to the committee in terms of the way forward. Because also I agree that it's got nothing with the current adjustment, budget adjustment processes. It's something that happened when we're dealing with the APPs and the budget for the department and its entities. But we'll discuss it, follow it up with Advocate Samara outside this platform. Let's go back to you, DG, for other responses.
Thank you, Honorable Chairperson. I want to start, and then I will ask the DDGs to come one after the other. On the wasteful expenditure, we have made quite significant progress on consequence management. You would see that there's significant recovery. The one that was finalized in terms of investigation and so on, which was 30-something thousand and so on, you would then see that a significant percentage of that has actually been recovered. Where we are not able to recover is where the reasons are justified. E.g., Honorable Chairperson, a person has got proof that they were not well on the time they were supposed to travel. There's nothing we can do about that. A person has been instructed by someone in higher authority to say, go deal with 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 instead of this. And that comes at a time when the person is supposed to board the flight and so on. There's nothing we can do about those kinds of things. But where we actually see that the person was responsible, there was some level of delinquency, we have actually recovered that money. Now, we can't go further and discipline a person after you have recovered the money, because then it becomes double jeopardy. But the fact that we are actually getting that money directly from the person's salary and so on, that already actually suffices in terms of consequence management in this regard. Then the issue, Honorable Chairperson, of the broader issues that I think there are issues that were flagged by Honorable Dango in terms of what is happening to tourism, though. We hear, we see these things that you are reporting, but exactly what is tourism actually? Is it growing? Are we seeing the change? We are seeing the change, Honorable Chairperson. It's just that we didn't bring that information because ordinarily it would have been brought in when we are bringing SAT's report. But we have seen in some instances, well, in all instances, we've seen double-digit growth. In some instances, we've seen 3-digit growth. And we are also seeing huge increases in domestic tourism. We are seeing huge increases in terms of trips, but also in terms of the holiday trips as well. We are seeing huge increases in terms of the revenue that we are getting from the domestic tourism market. And we are also seeing good increases in terms of the volumes of, the revenue volumes that we're actually getting from the other markets as well. We can do better in terms of revenue from certain markets, but there are markets that are already showing an indication that comparatively, the periods that we are dealing with now, in terms of the first, second quarter, and so on, second quarter is already beginning to show that it is better than some of the second quarter variables of 2019. So we are crossing our fingers to say, are we going to cross that 10 point something mark of 2019 and actually get into 2024 in the recovered mode, or just cross into the recovered mode within 2024? But we are seeing some very, very, very good sign with regards to this. The issue that Honorable Chairperson you have raised with regards to DBSA, it applies to the supply chain related issues in terms of where we would have actually opted to use an agent or an agency of government to be the one that is going to do an implementation on our behalf. They're expected to make use of all the rules that we would have actually followed when it comes to supply chain management. So to try and mitigate this, and it's almost an impossible task to do, but to try and mitigate this, we have written to DBSA, somewhat putting them on terms that they must give us assurance that they've got controls in place for this not to happen again. And what they have committed to us now in writing is that they are going to go through each file and make sure that at a point when there's a request for proposals or request for the bid is open or a request for quotations, all documents are in order for each and every company, including the tax issues and so on. But also at the point when they are going to be appointing, they will also again confirm that everything is still in order, and appointment then gets to be effected on the basis of that. And once that has actually taken place, when they come to us, they will also give us assurance that they've gone through this and the file that they are dealing with is actually everything in order. So that's the part that gives us a little bit of comfort, but not full comfort, so to say. On the procurement from women-owned businesses, honorable members would have noticed that there is already an improvement. If we look at the second quarter report is already showing 42 point something %. And we are hoping that this would actually continue to be the case as we go towards the end of the financial year. I'm then going to ask Program 2, followed by Program 3, followed by Program 4. The requested information, Honorable Chairperson, in terms of the disaggregation per province, per respective programs that are actually targeting specific types of beneficiaries, we will definitely provide that. Let me ask Animi, Honorable Chairperson, to come on board. Thank you.
Thank you, DG, and thank you, Honorable Chair and Honorable members for the questions. I think DG answered the question around the status of the sector and whether we are seeing any improvement. The second question that was directed to Program 2 was from Honorable Boshoff, and that is in relation to the review of the white paper and the development of the green paper. Honorable Boshoff, just to confirm that subsequent to the previous financial year, the Cabinet, we received approval from Cabinet to gazette and publish the green paper for public comments for 2 months. That period ended at the end of October. So now for the last 14 days, my team has been analyzing the inputs that we received, many of them towards the end of October. I believe there are there's a couple of thousands. The last update that I got is 3,000 and something inputs on the draft green paper. So at the moment we are analyzing the inputs and providing responses to that. So happy to indicate that it was introduced to the Cabinet process, and we are now at a stage where we are looking at inputs for consideration by Minister to include in the final draft that we will submit for approval. Thank you very much.
Through you, Chair, I'll respond to the destination development questions. I think that DG's already covered the issues related to the report on work opportunities, which we will certainly provide in writing, Honourable Chair, with the provincial breakdown. And DG's also covered the issues around the DBSA. Honourable Moimang, we do actually have a deliberate program of extending our work beyond the urban boundaries. Our Working for Tourism program does deliberately focus in rural areas. The work that we are doing on community projects is also to create new tourism products in rural areas across the country. And the planning work that we're doing in terms of our spatial master plans and the hub development is about also expanding and moving forward work in areas that are not previously focused on areas like townships and like the Wild Coast region, which extends from Port St. John's all the way down the coastline. So the work is deliberate and intentional around expanding the product in various areas. Honourable Boshoff, I think with regard to the 3 projects that you have asked for some feedback on, let me start with Metsi Matso. Metsi Matso was a project that we completed in 2016. We handed over then to the Department of Rural Development in the Free State because they are the custodians of that project on behalf of the community. The Metsi Matso project also, we assisted them to appoint an operator, and the operator basically was in place in 2018. The facility ran 2018, 2019. We were then, of course, hit by COVID. So this property is no longer in our books. It is a property that is in the books of the Department of Land Affairs and Rural Development. What I do want to say, though, is that in 2021, we got reports that there is no longer activity on the project. August 2021 specifically, it seems that there was disagreements between the operator and the community that were managing that. And the services of the operator were then terminated in August 2021. What has since happened is that there has also been a need to reconstitute the community trust and to also engage them on the traditional council. So this work is, of course, being managed by the Department of Land Affairs and Rural Development, and they're in the process then of trying to resolve the challenges that exist on the Metsi Matso project, working in communication with the actual owning entity that's in place. With regard to the Vredefort Dome, we actually did appoint a contractor to complete the work on the Vredefort Dome. And the work commenced in Q1. Unfortunately, towards the end of Q2, the services of the service provider had to be terminated. There were issues around performance of the contractor on site. In terms of the contractor was given several opportunities to remedy the challenges in terms of implementation, but eventually, unfortunately, it was not possible to remedy the problems to the satisfaction of the team managing the project, and those services were terminated. Where we are at present with the Vredefort Dome is that there is a forced construction that is presently sitting at 37% on site. And there is a process now to actually appoint a new contractor, and that procurement process is underway to complete the project. The last project I think that you wanted some feedback on was the Dinosaur Interpretation Center. With regards to the Interpretation Center, we have in fact achieved practical completion on the building itself. What is currently underway is that there is now the design of the exhibition, and the project will be concluded by December next year, with the installation of the exhibition at the Dinosaur Center, and that center being concluded and ready for the public. And as an aside, it is indeed correct, Honorable Boshoff, that I did conclude my PhD studies since our last engagement, hence the change in my title. Thank you very much, Honorable Chair and Honorable Members. Thank you.
Thank you very much, DG. Honorable Danko wanted to find out if what are the challenges that TSSS, that is the tourism sector support service branch, experiences such that they are not able to meet their targets. My observation, Honorable Danko, is that our procurement processes take long. Just as we have finalized the procurement processes, some processes are not able to be concluded because they are tainted with irregularities. Others, a decision to appoint is not made because bidders will not have met the specification, and then we then have to start the process again. And some other projects, such as the Tourism Monitors Program, we have had to restart the process of procurement more than 2 times, unfortunately. We are dealing with cutting the procurement processes by ensuring that there's dedicated committees to be able to do the specification, evaluate, and take the ultimate decisions. But those areas that are outside of our control, where there are irregularities and where those that are putting in their bids are not able to meet specification, quite unfortunate in that regard. Again, on the domestic tourism awareness, for the first quarter, we had not planned any domestic tourism awareness campaign. We are using that as a part of the planning, and in particular, looking at the summer campaign, which we will be embarking upon very soon to increase travel domestically. But in the second quarter, the World Tourism Day, its launch and the activities to promote domestic tourism did take place, and it is what we had planned to do in quarter 2. The capacity building and the provincial spread, DG has spoken to it, both in the manner that was raised by Honorable Danko and by the Honorable Chair. Honorable Boshoff wanted to know if there are any consequence management with regards to the implementation of the Tourism Monitors Program in Limpopo that did not take place. I do know that there are investigations each and every instance where we have not met a target, but particularly in this area, because the procurement process, though they have been embarked upon, there were some challenges. I do know that there are investigations that are taking place to determine the root cause and also if there was any foul play in the management of the processes. The safety campaigns, they are structured in the manner of a rotation. We normally plan to have 4 in a financial year, and then the next year we plan to go to areas or provinces where we have not gone. In terms of the dropout reasons, there are various reasons why our youth will exit the program. Others, a majority of them do get better opportunities. It could be in another EPWP program, or they do get a permanent employment. Some of them are absorbed by the host employers once the program is running and the employer doesn't want to lose the skills and the resource. They do absorb them within their workplaces. Others, because they're youth, they do exit the program because they will have had an opportunity to further their studies. Others is just a matter of dismissal due to ill discipline, where disciplinary processes require that they be dismissed. Whether we are following up with youth that are not trained, that are trained, but not yet placed in permanent jobs, we do get into discussions with the private sector for them to be able to prioritize those that would have trained. But the training itself does expose our youth to opportunities and exposure in terms of tourism careers. And now recently, with the recruitment of the tourism monitors, we are into a drive in terms of ensuring that the learners or those that we have trained through our various skills program register on the presidential youth database, unemployed database. We are working with an accelerator, a non-profit organization that is assisting us to recruit from that database, and it calls on us then to encourage and to make sure that those that we have trained are registered on the database. We will go on a drive as well to encourage our tourism private sector participants to recruit from there, and that will go a long way in terms of ensuring that we don't train them to be at home, but that we are working together with the business owners to recruit from the cohort that we would have trained. Thank you very much, DG. That is all from TSSS. Thank you.
Thank you, DG. Honorable Chairperson, I think we will hand over back to the DM. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Just before that, let me go back to members if there are any follow-up questions, honorable members. Seems not. Let me then hand over to honorable DM. Over to you, honorable DM.
No, thanks, Chair. Well, let me just emphasize on a few things that, the information that you requested about, especially about the capacity building, the various training, to be made available on provinces. should think that will be done. DDG will look into that and make sure that the committee is able to receive the breakdown of all the various capacity program that we're doing in the whole country, province by province, so that we've got an appreciation of the spread that we are making, so that provinces are benefiting out of this training. And then the issue that you are raising, Chair, I'm not sure where the confusion is, because SAT tried, TBCSA tried to explain extensively this thing. On Saturday, in the around 5 o'clock news in SABC, in the news, he was there, the CEO of TBCSA was there for what, 10 minutes, explaining that the issue of the funding for the marketing of South Africa by TBSA through Trevor Noah, it's 100% private funding. Not a single money from government. But what we need also to emphasize is that TBSA, besides having to do their own things, they also fund through Tom's Levy, SAT. So there's private money that comes from there's money coming from the private that gets given to SAT as well. But there's no other way around that SAT give money to TBCSA, no. So this is their own initiatives, because we have said we must work together in order for us to, you'll recall that last year and this year, the leadership of the tourism sector met in Sun City and agreed to look at, after COVID, to look at what is it that needs to do in order to achieve the 21 million. They made an analysis and study and came to the conclusion that the long-term target will be that 21 million, but for the 2030 or 2085, they can't be able to achieve that. And then they said, no, their target now is 15 million. So that target cannot be achieved through an effort of SAT alone. It's not possible. It will require a collaborative effort of government and the private sector to make sure that we vigorously go out and market South Africa. So they are playing their part in terms of the role that they want to play and make sure that they contribute towards the marketing of South Africa. This is the private sector, it's their own initiatives. But everybody must understand, for us to be able to be out in the market there, because we're contesting with developed countries for this space. We're contesting with developed countries to attract tourists to the market is one. And therefore, in the whole world, but we're also contesting the space with countries like Rwanda, Kenya, Tanzania, and all of that. And people must understand, for us to be able to do that, we need to invest money in marketing. We need to vigorously go out there and market South Africa. There are a lot of things that we need to explain through our marketing strategy, why people should come to South Africa. And in order to do that, you need money. It can't happen on its own. So that part is part of the business that is doing. You will have seen, for example, Sundown in one of their T-shirts there at the arm. There's Rwanda there. Visit Rwanda, because Rwanda is on an offensive. So they want to use tourism as one of the key economic sector to turn the country around. And we do have that potential as well to turn South Africa around, but we need to invest in SAT. You need to invest in the marketing of South Africa in order to make sure that we're able to achieve, because once we're able to achieve this target, we'll make a huge contribution in dealing with the unemployment, confronting the issue of poverty and all of that, because of the potential that tourism has. So we need to work together, private sector and ourselves. And South Africa must not just be suspicious on everything that government does or the private sector does. We want to make sure that we put South Africa on the map so that it assists, the sector assists in making sure that we turn the corner around and stabilize South Africa, create a better life, and create opportunities for our people. That's what we need. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Honorable DM, especially for clarifying this. I was aware, I watched the CEO of Tourism Business Council of South Africa explaining this on one of the TV channels. He even went further to say it's the other way around. It is them who give money to tourism. They're not getting any cent from Department of Tourism. So it's the other way around. So maybe that we have this platform so that it can be explained also to the public, because the radio station is a second largest radio station in terms of listenership, and it's a morning show which is between 6 and 9. So it's good that we have to clarify some of these things, because the way they put it is that the department first denied that they've given 37 million to Trevor Noah, but now it is confirmed. Now they're confusing the Tourism Business Council of South Africa with the entity of Department of Tourism. So it's good that this isn't clarified for the public to know. At this stage, then, we have come to the conclusion of the briefing, the questions and answer sessions. I would like to take this opportunity to thank the Deputy Minister and the DGE and the DDGs for the presentation of the annual report, the first and second quarter reports. But let me also indicate, honorable members, as the Deputy Minister indicated, the apology of the Minister. I just found out on my emails that indeed there is a letter from the Minister apologizing for not being able to attend this meeting. She's attending another meeting where she's addressing the issue of safety strategy with the diplomatic corps. So that's why she's not part of this meeting. So at this stage, we will release DM and the team so that members of the committee can remain, so that we deal with the internal committee matters. Thank you very much, DM and the team. You are
Thank you very much, Ambassador.
Thank you.
Thank you very much, Chair.
So much. Honorable members, we will now deal with the minutes of the last meeting. We'll ask Mr. Bazia if you can flag the minutes.
Chair, can I make a request, Chair?
Okay.
Chair, there was a technical issue opening up the document. So as a result, we weren't able to circulate the minutes of last week to members. Can we kindly request that we defer the adoption of the minutes to next week's meeting, Chair?
Okay. No, that's fine then. I think next week we will be meeting in the afternoon, isn't it? Because there's a plenary session in the morning.
Yes, Chair.
Yes.
So we will then deal with the minutes then in the afternoon next week, where we'll be dealing, I think, is it PIC?
Yeah, that is, I think,
Not,
if I'm
not
not
PIC,
mistaken,
sorry,
the Zondo Commission, the DTIC.
DTIC.
Yeah.
Sorry, it's not PIC. It's the commission, actually. Yeah. So we're dealing with that with regard to the Zondo Commission. What is it that the department is doing to address issues that were raised by the Zondo Commission as per the Parliament decision and referral to such issues to relevant committees. Yeah. Thank you so much. That then takes us to the end of the meeting. Honorable members, I understand that we don't have a plenary session this afternoon. And myself and the Honorable Protestant will be attending another committee meeting, joint committee meeting. Thank you very much for your participation, your attendance, and also thanks.
Thank you, Chief.
Chair, you've frozen in your last words.
Recording stopped.